that recent data, it has revealed that Nigeria is trading more with Africa than other continents. Give us some insight into some of the drivers that has positioned Nigeria thus.
Yes, like you said, that's correct. That was the first time in Nigeria's history that it actually was trading more within the continent than any other region. I think what we learned from that is the fact that, it came really from first of all, there's a general increase in intra-African awareness in intra-African trade. So African countries are generally trading more with themselves. The global economic challenges is forcing countries across Africa, including Nigeria, to look for alternative markets. So that, of course, in the process, Nigeria also started looking for alternative markets for its products because its traditional markets was difficult to penetrate those markets. Also because of the Dangote Refinery, and that's the benefit of value addition. The Dangote Refinery had assessed and that's what Africa countries need to do, assess the needs of other African countries, what they are buying from non-African countries, and they now developed the Dangote Refinery now starts to supply the African region what they were already importing from other countries. So it shows that there's huge potential for intra-African trade within the continent. So those are the main reasons why Nigeria started to trade more within Africa than outside Nigeria. It was really the Dangote Refinery, the value addition coming out from that, and having to trade with supply other African countries, and of course the geopolitical tensions that are making it difficult to penetrate traditional markets is forcing Nigeria to look for alternative markets for its products, and of course things like the AfCFTA that is becoming more accepted by many countries. It has grown from about 16 countries a few years ago, and I think there are about 48 now that have signed off on it. Again, making it easier for Nigeria to trade with its neighbors. So all these things put together was what was responsible for the increase in Nigeria's trade.
I mean, that's excellent stuff. Right now, we know that Intra-Africa trade is about 15%. What are your projections in terms of trade volumes? What are your projections in that regard with all the initiatives that are ongoing right now? And are there other African countries as well that are standing out when it comes to intra-Africa trade?
Yes, Kenya is one. Kenya's intra-African trade has improved slightly. Egypt as well is improving in terms of inter-African trade. I'm trying to remember, there's one in South Africa, either Uganda or Zimbabwe. I'm trying to remember which of the two, but one of the two countries, I don't have the data with me right now, one of the two countries also has shown significant improvement in intra-African trade, in addition to Nigeria.
And right now, and of course, let's put the global context into things, the tariff shocks and how Africa is moving in line with that. What's your assessment of our strategy in line with the global somewhat trade recalibration?
I think we are doing exactly what was prescribed. Trade more with yourself. Trading more with ourselves in the continent makes us more immune from global economic shocks. In the current model, which we have been adopting for many, many years, anytime the big powers are fighting and themselves, we always get hurt because our systems are tied to theirs. Even though the last economic crisis, trade within Africa was not, we were still able to trade with ourselves. But because they're having challenges, they are pulling their dollars away from African countries, we were unable to trade. Because before I can trade, if I can buy something in Kenya, I need to look for dollars so that I can trade with Ghana. So the demand is there, the supply is there, but the dollar to complete that transaction is not there. So the more African countries are beginning to adopt PAPs, for example, is limiting the impact of the dollars and is enabling them to continue to trade with themselves regardless of whatever is happening in the global economic environment. Now, if your market is tied to the US, tied to North America, to China, to any other market, if they have crisis, either because they are fighting each other or they have economic shock within their economy, because that's where your market is, you are going to be affected. But if you are trading with yourself within the continent, whatever happens in their economy doesn't affect them. It's working. If you look at the half-year results so far, despite the tariff wars going on, Intra-Africa trade has even grown stronger already half-year. In a year where everybody was worried that the tariff wars were going to dismantle the global economic environment, trade data, and so it's not affecting African countries. And the reason is because it forced us to do exactly what we are supposed to have been doing all this while, speaking to ourselves more often, trading with ourselves, investing more with ourselves, gradually removing those barriers that have been in place for. There's still a lot of work to do,
Indeed.
but it's beginning to shift. So I think that's the strategy: trade more with yourself, invest more in African countries, keep the capital within Africa as much as possible, gradually reduce your dependency on non-African countries. It's been adopted. I think it is working, and as long as we keep faith with those systems, I think in terms of forecast, I think in the next 10 years you find a situation where Africa's intra-African trade is around the same level as, say, intra-Asian trade, 50-60%. I think that's the target. We need to get to a point where intra-African trade gets to 60-70%. I have to say that 15% actually is official. These are official figures because it doesn't really take into consideration informal cross-border trade, because there's no way to capture that. So it's probably a lot more than 15% in reality. There's a lot of trade within borders that are not really captured.
And what do you think needs to be done to capture that? Do we need more formalization of these informal markets, or is there a way we can work around the informal market?
Thank you very much. You answered the question on my behalf. That's exactly what it is. You have to find ways to formalize these transactions, to capture these transactions. And the only way you can capture the transactions better is to make them as formal as possible, so that people are more willing to report those transactions. And I think the more we get that information, you find out that it's important not just for data, but it also has the ability to inform buyers and sellers. So if I'm still trading in the formal channels, I need to realize that my business there are other informal transactions that I didn't even know existed. When I have that data official, I'll now realize, oh, okay, there's another pathway for me to even expand my output and the export of my output.
Definitely look forward to seeing that being done. You're Nigerian. A lot of Nigerians are excited with the announcement of Lagos being the next host of the Intra-Africa Trade Fair. What are your sentiments around that? Are we ready?
I believe we are. I think, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Nigerian, I think there cannot be a better place. We describe the Intra-African trade as the marketplace for the AfCFTA, and anyone that is Nigerian knows that that's the biggest market anywhere in the continent. That's where we have the aggression. That's where we have the innovation. That's where we have people with the creative mind. That's what the IATF is about. It's bringing buyers and sellers, people with vision, people with ideas together, and that there's no better place to have that than Nigeria. So I'm excited. Yes.
So it's about time. Thank you very much for your time.